Hello and welcome to the Cardiac Cats YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Shorba, and today I've got some more free agency news for you guys as Dearness Johnson has decided to return to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I've got some other things to talk about too, so make sure to stick around past this topic. There are some really important things to get to, especially pertaining to Calvin Ridley and also Derrick Henry news. So, to start this off, though, let's talk about the main topic. So, Dearness Johnson seems like he's signing a one-year deal. Don't know the numbers yet. You can imagine these numbers are probably pretty low. Last year, I believe he signed for, I think, $1,250,000, so it's just over veteran minimum. But Dearness Johnson's a really good player. He's a valuable special teamer. He's a really good backup to have in the running back room. And to really get to that conclusion, I feel like, and this isn't really a knock on how he did last year. You go back to his Cleveland days, though, where Nick Chubb went down and he's got to come in and he's got to carry the workload. I mean, he did it consistently, but he not only did it, but he put up 100-yard games. I mean, if you've played fantasy football at all, you might know because you might have picked him up one of those weeks. But he's a hell of a player when he's called upon, when his number's called out. So I really like this move. I definitely loved the pick last year of bringing him in from free agency. And I think it's smart for them to keep him around because the way I look at this backfield, Travis Etienne's your main guy, right? Tank Bigsby, given he's going to have a better offensive line now on the interior, is going to be your short yardage guy, your up the middle guy. And Dearness Johnson is someone who can come in as the last relief guy, but can be the primary back to take over Etienne's role when he's out. So that's kind of how we look at this running back room. I really like the group of guys. Very happy with this decision by the Jaguars. Now we'll take a look at the cap space situation. We have more numbers coming in finally. So the two things that are not factored in as far as new players, one is going to be Devin Duvernay. We do not have specific contract details yet. The other will be Dearness Johnson. But it'll be a very simple one. Probably going to be about the same mark as it was last year. So that's where the cap situation is going to be right now. You can see they have a ton of money for the next season. And so it's really good news. And the other thing to keep in mind with this, Brandon Scherf agreed to a pay decrease. That is not factored in to these numbers at all. As you can see, you look at his base salary, his non-prorated bonus. It's the same as the original amount. So we know right now that he took essentially a $5 million pay cut and they converted a bunch of it to signing bonus realistically. So it's going to be a considerably smaller number. I think it's by like 12 million less. So that's really good news for the Jaguars as far as cap savings. I also think they'd very much consider looking into Cam Robinson, doing some kind of renegotiation there. I think that's going to happen in the coming days, if I had to guess. And then you also got Zay Jones, who I think clearly is probably going to be on the outs as long as Calvin Ridley returns, which we'll talk about in a moment, because we did get some news there. But realistically, with Gabe Davis coming in, Christian Kirk locked down, you're not moving on from, let me reword that. You are moving on from Zay Jones, right? He's paid $8 million a year. You're not going to pay a backup that. So I think he's on his way out. It's just a matter of having the guy who's going to take a spot, right? And that's what they're trying to figure out with Calvin Ridley. So, on that topic, let's get to that. We've gotten a lot of different reports, and we've actually found a guy who broke the news about Brian Burns to the Giants a couple days in advance as well. So we've been following him, trying to get news from him. He mentioned earlier in the day that the Jaguars were considered the heavy favorites to bring back Calvin Ridley. That's where things sat. Then we started to get other rumors coming out, and a lot of these things are lining up. This guy, I'm very confident he's credible. Pretty much everyone who's following this online trusts what he's saying. He also predicted the Darnell Mooney to the Falcons move, I think like 5 or 10 minutes before it was ever reported. So He's got his eyes and ears out there, right? And this is what he was talking to us about. And then, just here recently, 11 minutes ago, we get a report from Adam Schefter saying New England is attempting to sign free agent wide receiver Calvin Ridley, but sources believe he currently prefers to return to Jacksonville and has been discussing a deal with the Jaguars. So, basically, here's the situation. Ridley wants to be in Jacksonville. He has an offer on the table. I believe that New England has probably put in a larger offer than what Jacksonville has. It very much sounds like that. But Ridley doesn't want to leave, ideally. It needs to be a much bigger number for him to leave. Because, you want to stay with the same team. Like, you're going to earn more money doing that in the long term. You're going to have a better reputation because, not saying it's bad to leave, but my point is that sticking around here, he's going to have chemistry with players. He's going to be a better player this year. And that's going to lead to him getting more respect as a better receiver in the NFL. There's no doubt that him being in Jacksonville is the best situation for him this next season. So that's the situation. And we've got some other teams that are kind of in the mix. We don't know a ton of names. We do know there's supposed to be a dark horse contender that's considered to be the New York Jets right now. I think that is probably 95% certain at this point. But this is where we sit with Calvin Ridley. Now, why can't we get the news of Calvin Ridley is signed with the Jaguars? We can't because if they agree to a deal before tomorrow at, I believe, 4 p.m. Eastern, if it gets agreed to before then, and that's all formality, there's an issue as far as the compensation because then technically it would be a second round pick. If they wait until after, they sign the deal then Calvin Ridley will only cost a third because he will have officially been a free agent. But if you sign him now, if you make it official, he technically never was a free agent because this is still the tampering period. None of these players have officially left their old teams. Technically, Ronald Darby is still a Raven right now. Until tomorrow when he signs the contract, he's a Raven. And technically it would be at 4 o'clock flat. He would just be a free agent and then he would sign with the Jaguars. But Calvin Ridley, to cost a third, has to go from Jaguar to free agent to wherever he goes. And that's ideally back in Jacksonville. So they can't do anything right now because of that. And because they can't do anything, other teams can still submit offers to Calvin Ridley. And so unfortunately, what that could lead to is people getting desperate, people sending in big offers because they know they need to get something for their team. And I think New England's got a good piece in Kendrick Bourne right now. They don't have much else. They have Hunter Henry, Juju that they want to trade off of. I don't really like that route. And so bringing in a young quarterback into that situation looks like it'll probably be Drake May or Jaden Daniels. You don't want to put them in a situation to fail, right? And not that they'll even start immediately, because I know they signed, I think, Jacoby Brissett. So that's an option for them. But they want to surround him, right? The Jets want to bring him in so that they can go win a Super Bowl. So there's reasons, very big reasons for these teams to go after Calvin Ridley. It's just not another free agent signing. So we've got to see what happens. We've got to follow it. Things can change because nothing is official until tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. So keep your eyes on it. Definitely could change. Nothing's going to be solid at this point. As far as the page, I'll show you guys the link to that. I've just got to find the guy in here real quick. Here we go. So here's his handle, Pretty Ricky 213. You can find posts that he's confirmed today. So he called Darnell Mooney to the Falcons before it was predicted. He had a lot of talk earlier about the Brian Burns trade. A lot of stuff on here that he's predicting. Derrick Henry should be a Raven. He just signed with the Ravens. That's the other bit of news. So thank God Derrick Henry's out of the division, right? I mean, probably would have wanted that 4 years ago, but this is where we are. So that's definitely a guy to follow if you're on Twitter at all. Check him out. And then, of course, E_Dilla for Jaguars Insider News. All stuff to check out this week. But that's all I've got for you guys. We'll probably have another video today, assuming more signings take place. I don't know what's going to happen yet. I think they will probably wait. I think there could be one, maybe like a non-compensatory free agent today. But we'll see what happens, right? So that's all I've got. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And finally, go Jag.